to the round table. Today we will be talking about NBA and all things surrounding basketball. My name is Caleb. I'll be the host today. I'm here with
Casey.
Same.
And we just want to talk about some of the things that happened the past week and some future things we'd like to see and some hypothetical situations that we will see maybe in the future of the NBA and basketball in general. Okay? So, start out this week. We've had the NBA draft. A lot of new prospects coming into the NBA. A lot of new storylines coming in, and we want to go through that. So, to start out the roundtable this week, we're going to go with winners of the draft. We're going to start with Sam.
Awesome. Well, this draft was interesting because mostly people thought this was a three-person draft, which in hindsight it could have been. I think that this class could be something special. There are a lot of good prospects. I think one of the winners of this draft has to be the Houston Rockets. They picked up a point guard in Amen Thompson, who I think can give them more of a scoring punch as well as assisting than Kevin Porter Jr. It would be interesting to see what they actually end up doing with Kevin Porter, if they end up bringing him back, if they end up trading him. And then another snag is getting Cam Whitmore at the 20th pick in the draft. He fell due to poor workout and poor interviews throughout the process, but most GMs and execs thought that he is the most body ready for the NBA. I think he can bring a scoring punch to that Rockets team. Rockets team's going to be looking good in the future. I think they won the draft. I think there's a few other teams that, like the Magic, I think did very well, and I also think the amount of picks that the Brooklyn Nets got, they won. But overall, I think just the way that Houston is setting up their future, I think they have one of the best futures other than Orlando and OKC. I think they're close, but I think the Rockets did pretty well in this draft.
Okay, over to Casey.
Yeah, I think the obvious one here wasn't the Rockets, who I was, is a winner, obviously, but, you have to go with the Spurs, really. And I think the Spurs, no matter what they did in the draft after the first pick, were the winners anyways. Just Victor Wembanyama, what a talent, really. You can't really say enough about him and his skill set. Standing at 7'5" with comparisons to Kevin Durant. Also being a great defender as well. Almost led his team in France to the national title over there. But really, the Spurs have had a big hole at center for a few years now, and I think Victor Wembanyama, with the talent that he has, people compare him to LeBron James type talent, saying he's the best prospect since LeBron James, and even some going as far as saying that he would be picked above LeBron James if he were put in that 2003 draft. I disagree with that, but you got to give the Spurs credit here. They won the draft lottery, and they obviously made the right pick. They also picked up two really good G League Ignite players, in Leonard Miller at 33 and City Sissoko at 44. Both good young pieces who can help out, build the young core around Trey Jones if they bring him back. They have Jeremy Sohan, who they drafted last year. They have Malachi Branham, who's also another young player. But they just really have a really good young core, and Greg Popovich really knows how to build a team. And how did they get so lucky to draft another top center talent? You look back at David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and they drafted so many great centers in their history, and it's just like, how did they get lucky again? But I think the Spurs were the clear choice here.
I just want to say Leonard Miller actually was traded to the Timberwolves. So technically, the Spurs did draft him, but they sent him straight to Minnesota.
Right. Okay. Well, either way, they still won the draft, in my opinion.
Yeah, I honestly, in hindsight, yes, Victor Wembanyama being the number one overall pick going to the Spurs is a steal and a half. I looked at it as how they did overall in the draft and picking up Koulibaly. I like the pick, but I felt like that it was kind of a reach. Not Koulibaly, City Sissoko, because I think he's good. I just think he's kind of raw. So I feel like
he was a second round graded talent, and I think he's got potential where he can grow on the wing there, and especially in a Spurs system that focuses on defense. He could definitely grow a lot in that system, considering they have a really good foundation already, and good people in the front office, good people in the coaching staff, and just good people in the organization around. I mean, you saw Victor Wembanyama already had a dinner with Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and Manu Ginobili. I mean, that just shows the, as you could say, alumni talent that played for the Spurs are already still giving back to the organization and just showing how great of an organization it actually is.
Okay. Yeah, I think getting Wembanyama, he's very good. You couldn't pass up on him. My thing is with City Sissoko is he's a shooting guard. You already took Malachi Branham last year. You still have Devin Vassell. Do you think taking Sissoko in the second round or taking someone like a Jalen Wilson, who's more polished, or maybe a Trace Jackson for more depth at the center power forward, or like a Keontae George who can play that stretch forward? Like, they already have enough guard help. They really need more forward base because who knows how long Doug McDermott's going to be there. I know they've been trying to shop him for a while. Right. I honestly could not – I forget who their backup center is. Once they got rid of Pirtle. I don't know.
Pirtle's gone. Pirtle's in Toronto. He got traded last year. He was out of Gonzaga.
Zach Collins. Yeah, if they bring Zach Collins back, because I know he's on a team option, so I don't know if
they'll bring him back. He was pretty solid for him last year, and I think he'll be a really good backup center for them. And I would be surprised if they didn't bring him back.
I'm just wondering. I am very looking forward to see the Jeremy Sohan's progression to next year. I think he is in line to have a big year in his second season.
Yeah, he's definitely got to develop offensively. He's still super raw on offense, but defensively, he showed a lot in his rookie season, and as we all thought he would. But I think he definitely has room to grow on the offensive side. But I think he will. I think he seems like a hard worker, and like I keep going back to that Spurs system, it's hard to not get better in.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so do you guys think, due to the draft, that these two teams could make it into the play-in / playoff spots for next year, or do you think they'll kind of be still stagnant but growing as a team?
I think that the Rockets, depending on how they do in free agency, if they are getting James Harden, I think that the Rockets can put themselves into a play-in tournament situation. They have Alfred Şengün's going to take a huge step, I think, this year, especially if they can get Harden and they can combine to do a bunch of pick and rolls. The pick and rolls are going to be insane with them. They already have Tari Eason, who showed a lot of promise out of LSU. Jalen Green's going to take another step in being the next superstar. He's got the potential to. Getting Amen Thompson helps them offensively and defensively. He's a really good defender. You saw that in the G League with the G League Ignite. And you have they have a deep bench with Ty Washington and Kevin Martin Jr. and Jayshawn Tate, both 3-and-D guys. Spurs, on the other hand, I think it's going to take another couple of years. I think they're starting like getting Wembanyama starts the process. It's going to take a few years. I don't think some of the players on that team are going to be there in a few years, because I think the way they're going to transition. I think they'll probably end up looking at Keldon Johnson, moving on from Keldon Johnson. I think it's going to take a few more years. I think they need to get a couple more pieces. And no one really wants to go to San Antonio in free agency because, yes, they have one of the best coaches of all time.
Disagree with you
NBA.
there.
But they're not winning. They're not winning.
that's true.
If you're not winning, they're not attracting big name players. The only way they're going to go there is if they get traded. And most of the time, you see when a big player gets traded to like to a team that's not good and they want to play for a contender, they get bought out. Except for Chris Paul, you have the likes of Chris Paul who got traded to OKC, played really well for OKC, led them almost to the play-in, and then got traded to a contender.
They were they were a 6 seed that year.
They were a 6 and they overshined. So there are some of those, but that's Chris Paul knowing that he needed to do that. There's some players that will get traded to like a team like the Spurs or the Pacers and not want to play for them because they're not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Spurs take. I don't think they'll be good for a few more years. Obviously, a lot of people think Victor Wembanyama will be the Rookie of the Year this coming year. Some say he'll average about probably 20 and 10 or so. But still, that doesn't push them in the play-in contention. I still see them being a bottom feeder, getting another top draft pick next year's draft. But Houston, on the other hand, if they do get their hands on James Harden, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Considering they have Jabari Smith and Jalen Green, former top 3 picks each. Şengün is going to be growing. Kenny Martin Jr. is still growing. Tari Eason, as Sam brought up, they still have Kevin Porter Jr. They would have some pretty good depth along with progression going on. The only thing with them, and I keep going back to John Wall's interview, that when he played for the Rockets for 1 or 2 years, he said that basically there's no discipline. There's no discipline in the Houston Rockets organization. There's no accountability. And it lets these players get away with basically whatever they want to. And that kind of stunts growth if they're not being coached in a certain way. And, yeah, they just brought in Ime Udoka, so I think they will be headed in the right direction. But under Steven Silas, they really weren't. But Ime Udoka is a proven coach already. He only coached 1 year in Boston, but led them to the finals.
Does Ime Udoka have discipline? That's the real question.
He'll make sure his players have discipline. I don't know if he
maybe himself,
but yeah, I think the Rockets. It scares me as a Pelicans fan because there's an arms race going on in the West right now. Every single team is going for more talent, and it's going to be tough for every single team to get into the playoffs or even the play-in. But I think that's why Commissioner Adam Silver even added it in the first place, is to make sure that every team thinks they can get in the play-in, and by that getting into the playoffs. I'm sure the Spurs think they can get in the play-in, which I don't think they can, but you never know.
Well, what's
the NBA?
Need, then? What do the Spurs need?
Well, first I think they need to bring back Trey Jones. I think that's the first thing they need to do. They'll probably get him on a 10 to 13 mil deal per year, I'd assume. They also will have another max slot open after that. I mean, they still have contracts like Devontae Graham or Doug McDermott, and yet they still have 30 mil in the book, or 30 mil open. So they really could pursue any of these big name free agents like a Fred VanVleet or a Kyrie Irving. But do I really see those veterans, going to San Antonio? No. Do I see the Spurs throwing out a bunch of money to a average player who they could see as a good player but probably won't blossom? I don't see them overspending when they don't have to. So I think the Spurs will probably go into it re-signing their players, maybe bring in a few rotation players, but nothing too big.
What player will work best with Wembanyama?
Someone who can handle the ball, I think. They'll need an established point guard, and I think Trey Jones would be a good backup point guard for their team. So if they could package Devontae Graham and Doug McDermott just to create salary, and then maybe bring in Keldon Johnson to the deal and some picks, I mean, they could definitely bring in an established point guard. I mean, they already have Vassell on the wing who they could play at the 3 if they really need to. They have a few other guys that are still developing. So I think an established point guard who can show Wemby how to be a pro, just someone in the locker room who's been through it all. Even championship experience would help him out a lot. But like I said, he already has that in his corner when it comes to Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili. So I think a point guard, but I want to know what Sam is thinking here.
Yeah. I think Trey Jones is fine as a point guard. You don't need Trey Jones to go out there and get you 20 a night. You just need him to be able to facilitate, play really good defense, and just orchestrate the offense. Do a lot of pick and rolls with Wemby. I think it's perfect. You saw Trey Jones do a lot of that in college when he had Paolo Banchero, Mark Williams, to name a few, Zion. So I think Trey fits Wemby really good. You just need to bring shooters around because if you look at it, if you have Devin Vassell's a good shooter. Kendall Johnson can be streaky sometimes. Sohan's not great from the three. He's working on his game. You can tell he's working on it, but he's not there yet. So if you can bring in 3-and-D players, make a trade for honestly, if I don't think it would happen, but I think trading for like a Dorian Finney-Smith as a 3-and-D guy. Someone, I know it won't happen because they're not contending, but if you get someone that can shoot the ball from three really well, play really good defense, and when the defense closes down on Wemby after you do a pick and roll, that leaves the shooters open on the outside. So if you can have those knockdown shooters like Keldon Johnson's been doing pretty well towards the end of the season last year, he looked pretty good. Like Casey said, if you can package him into trading him for some picks and maybe some more shooting help, I think that would help. And like he said, like Wemby needs someone that can teach him how to be professional, like playing in a game with men. And he's got Tony Parker, he's got Ginobili, he's got Tim Duncan, and then you have the likes of guys that are still playing in the league and still playing on the Spurs, like Kenrick Birch. He's been in the league for a while. He knows what the league's like. He's got someone like that. And he's got Popovich. And Popovich is not shy from doing that with big men, helping them out. Like you saw LaMarcus Aldridge when he came to San Antonio, he upped his scoring. He was more efficient when he got there because he had that tutelage under Greg Popovich. He's done it before with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. So I think just more veteran presence on the team. They don't have to start. Like if they bring in someone just to mentor Wemby. But I think Trey Jones is fine. I think they just need mostly shooting.
Okay. All right. So we touched on who we think the winners are going to be, or who the winners were, and now we're going to move on to the losers of the draft. So who do you think was a loser in this draft?
I'm going to say I would say one big one that didn't have any picks in the draft are the 76ers. They didn't have any picks. And I thought they would try to trade into the draft to get some help. But if we're going to talk about people that just from the draft that had picks, I would honestly probably say that the Grizzlies, they didn't really do a whole lot. They drafted Marcus Sasser, but ended up trading him straight to Detroit. They got Gregory Jackson Jr. or Gregory Jackson II. I don't know why the heck they drafted him. You already have a logjam at your big man. You have Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson Jr., David Roddy, Brandon Clark. Yep, Brandon Clark. And then in the second round, towards the end of the second round, they took another big man. You just traded away Tyus Jones, who's arguably the best backup point guard in the league. You don't have Ja Morant for 25 games. Yes, you brought Marcus Smart in. You're losing Dylan Brooks, who during the regular season was really good from three, could play good defense. It was just in the playoffs he cracked. You're losing him because they're not bringing him back. Who are your guards going into next season other than Marcus Smart? You don't really have I don't even know if Kennedy Chandler's still on the team, but he's not. Desmond Bane, he'll probably play the three, most likely, scooting down with Marcus Smart coming in to play the three because they needed that. But I just think the Grizzlies did not hit home on any of their picks. it's just creating more. They got a guy out of Turkey who honestly no one really knows about. So who knows if he's even going to come this year? My guess is no.
Is there a sense of that? Sorry, real quick. Is there a sense of that arrogance that the Grizzlies kind of showed last year? Is it kind of that same thing, like, oh, we're good, but we don't need anything new, even though we lost our best player in 25 games?
No, I wouldn't say it's not that arrogance. I just don't think I don't know. I think the Ja Morant suspension kind of threw them all off. We all knew he was going to get suspended. We just didn't know for how long. And can Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard and Desmond Bain and John Carge, can they hold down the guard spots? No, I don't know. It just all depends on what they do in free agency as well, like I said. But when you draft two forwards in the draft, and you have a plethora of forwards and centers on your team, it's redundant why you didn't go after one of those. Try to trade up and try to go after one of those point guards.
Yeah, I actually have two losers here. I think the first one, and this happened right away. This was the Washington Wizards, actually. I think they made a really dumb trade at the beginning. Yeah, they picked Koulibaly, and it could be the right pick at the end of the day, but I'm sure they could have gotten him at 8. I don't know why they traded for him at 7 with the Pacers, who were their pick right before, because I know from multiple reports that the Pacers were targeting Jarace Walker. So they really could have gotten Koulibaly at 8, but instead they decide to trade up to 7, have the Pacers select Koulibaly for him, give up Jarace Walker and 2 second-round picks for someone who averaged 5 points a game in France. It didn't really look too good on draft night. I still don't understand the decision from the Wizards there. But they still had a few other picks that looked good, so I wouldn't give them a total failure. But the total failure, I think, is the Los Angeles Lakers. And they drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino, who is one of the best players on the board there. But we all know that they're trying to trade for good players who can win now with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And yet they did not do that on draft night. And that was the main goal for all of Los Angeles. Make sure you trade these picks. Let's get some good veterans in, get some shooters, get some more defense to play around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But they didn't do it. So, and I don't think any rookie is going to step in, especially a point guard on a LeBron James-led team, and step up and make a big impact. Their other pick was
Mave King,
Maxwell Lewis, who I think can be a really good player in the future, but right away on a LeBron James-led team with a veteran base, I really don't think that either of those players will make an impact in their first year if they stay on the team. And the Lakers will continue to try and look for trades with those two players. And now they have less leverage because it's not draft night. So I think they're a big loser here. Not because of the picks they made, but the fact that they made the picks.
That is true, but I know with the Lakers they have a lot of free agents, so it was kind of hard to trade someone because they don't have many people under contract, especially because of LeBron James and AD making so much more money. I know, and player team options, people haven't opted in yet, so the likes of Malik Beasley hasn't opted in yet, or Mo Bamba, they didn't have those players under contract. They haven't opted in, so they couldn't really get rid of them yet, so they had to wait till after the draft. I feel like the Lakers still can do that. They just had to wait till after draft, and then drafting players that I think their goal was to draft players that people might like, that they can use them in trades. I don't think they'll trade Jalen Hood-Schifino. I think he comes in and he can produce. We saw what he did when he came in for Indiana.
You think in his first year he's going to produce?
I think he's going to play a role, because no one heard of Jay. Well, go ahead.
Do you really think that he's going to make a big impact in his rookie season on a wannabe championship contender with LeBron James and Anthony Davis?
I think he'll make a bigger impact than most people think. Because if you look at it, he was on Indiana, and he wasn't the best player on Indiana because that was Trace Davis Jackson, and he went to Golden State, and I think he's going to be a great pro player. And then if you look at it, Jalen Hood-Schifino to start the season wasn't even the starter. And he was probably going to play a decent amount of minutes, but not a ton of minutes for Indiana, for Mike Woodson and the Hoosiers. And I forget their guy's name. I think it's Xavier Johnson, who went down with an injury. And then Hood-Schifino stepped in and was really good, was Big Ten Player of the Year this year. So I just think that he's going to play a bigger role than people think. Instead of being a trade piece, I think he can step in right away. The Maxwell Lewis, I've seen him play. He played at Pepperdine. He's a really good shooter. I think he's going to be one of those guys that he's going to be on a two-way. They'll send him down to the G League. They'll call him up whenever there's like an injury or something, and then send him back.
Right.
Down.
He's not going to make an impact.
Yeah, he won't make an impact. He won't make an impact. But I think Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Right.
Will.
And my problem with the Lakers drafting him, especially, is they already have depth at point guard. He won't play if he's on the team. Like,
that's that
if they don't trade him, he won't play. But here's why. They're going to bring back Russell. They don't have a choice. They're going to bring him back. I'm telling you right now. They don't have a choice. They can't lose him for nothing. They won't be able to replace him.
I see a sign.
They're not going after Kyrie Irving. They can't afford him, and they're not going to give him a max contract for 4 years like the Mavericks will. Second of all, they have Dennis Schroeder, who played really well in the playoffs for some time. Now, he did have some bad games, but they're definitely going to bring him back on a cheap contract. He's a veteran. LeBron likes him. He's fast. He plays defense. I mean, you don't really need him. You still have Austin Reeves, who can play the point guard. You still have LeBron, who can handle the ball. They really don't need another ball handler. So I don't understand this pick at all for them, unless it's to trade, which even then, if they were going to trade it, they should have done it before draft night.
Do you think that drafting Hood-Schifino was just drafting best player available?
Yes, that's what I think it was. But it's still not a win because they should have drafted it, or they should have traded it before, so whatever team is drafting will value that pick more because they will be the ones selecting the player that they want.
Okay.
And
I mean, a game where they play him a couple of times and then trade him after.
I just don't see that. I think they need to trade him before the season starts. That way they can get a full training camp with whatever veteran they bring in. Because obviously they'll probably end up trading Mo Bamba. They'll probably end up trading Malik Beasley. And that's $30 million right there almost. That's like $28 million. So I think they package those guys, and they'll have one first-round pick. So I've been hearing a lot of rumors about the Miles Turner and Buddy Hield sort of thing. And I think they should definitely go for that. But, I mean, it's been popping up again, right? And reports, and it's not just one reporter that's saying that. It's on both sides, Indiana and Los Angeles, and the national media, of course. But I think they should have traded the pick, and I think they still need to trade Jalen Hood-Schifino. Yeah,
the latest I saw on the Miles Turner thing was a sign-and trade with D'Angelo Russell to get but I saw it as a sign-and-trade with D'Angelo Russell for Miles Turner and Benedict Mathurin.
What? Why would the do that?
I don't know. I saw that, and I was kind of confused why they would do that instead of Buddy Hield.
Okay, no.
But I've also
never trade away.
I've also seen sign-in trades with Buddy Hield too. I've seen the sign-in trades.
Right, and it would be Buddy Hield. It would not be. Anyone else really. So
it would make sense if Benedict Mathurin didn't do if he didn't do as well, and it was like his third season. It doesn't make sense to give up now after his first season when he had a good season. Like he had a
great season. And this will be a sophomore season. Why would the Pacers give up on that when they're still rebuilding?
Exactly.
I guess. I mean, I could see them definitely giving up Miles Turner, but they will not. They will not give up Benedict Mathurin. No chance.
I just want to say I forgot to say a team that I think that actually won the draft too. Going back to the first question was the Denver Nuggets. I think the Denver Nuggets hit it home, getting a great 3-point shooter out of Gonzaga and Julian Strawther. The man can shoot from range. I think because if you look at it, a lot of the players that were on the Nuggets team that won it this year, a lot of them were second rounders, late first round, late second rounds, and undrafted. You look at Christian Braun, who is a great 3-and-D guy out of Kansas, who played a big role on this championship run. And you see, and you think, and I was getting similar comparisons of Julian Strawther. The man can shoot. He was hitting 40% from the three, and took more than 5 attempts last season for Gonzaga. And I remember watching him live when they played LMU. That man was pulling up from the logo and shooting, and somehow making. I think he dropped 33 on LMU, and Drew Timme only played like 24 minutes that game, and he was sitting on the bench for most of the time because Julian Strawther, they had to give it to him every time. And I think he can be something special for, especially when the Nuggets have to make that decision of who we can re-sign and who they can't. And I just think that the Nuggets hit it home with Julian Strawther pick, and then bringing it. I know they traded Maxwell Lewis to get. I couldn't remember who they drafted. I know they got someone else that can play a role. So you look at these like teams that are pushing for the playoffs. I thought the Lakers were going to do something like that, but they ended up. I agree with you. I think the Lakers could have done better with their picks, but it's kind of like at this point who was available.
Right. I think one other loser that I didn't bring up, or one other winner I didn't bring up because I thought they were a second-tier winner. They weren't the top. The Dallas Mavericks. They had the number 10 pick in this year's draft. I don't like the Mavericks at all because I'm a Pelicans fan, but I have to give them their props. They really did a good job this year's draft. They traded down from 10 to 12. And they ended up shedding Davis Bertans' contract with a $22 million on it for a below-average role player. They also used that trade exception that they got from that trade of giving up Davis Bertans to bring in a regular start or an old regular starter and Rashard Holmes, who's a good veteran. They needed more front court depth, and he's a good, reliable center. And they ended up getting the 24th pick for that, just taking on his contract. They didn't even give up anything in return besides the trade exception. So they selected Olivier Maxence Prosper out of Marquette. And he also did really well this past year. So I think the Mavericks really made some good moves. And I bet they will still make some more moves because I know Luka and Kyrie, they're trying to win now and they're not trying to develop. So we'll see what they do in the future. But they made some good moves on draft night.
Oh, I love the Derek Lively pickup. That man, he started off slow in college, and towards the end of the season, he just started playing like he was the number one player ranked in high school. Watching some of his workout videos during pre-draft, he's developing his 3-point shooting because you see a lot of those big men.
If he gets that, it's over, bro. Yeah. He's gonna be so good.
He's so good at defense. He can protect the rim. He's really good in the pick and roll situation. Especially, he's going to be really good watching him and Luka together, and even Kyrie if he comes back. I think Derek Lively. Is a great pickup for them, and if he can develop that shot, I think Jay Billis on the show hit it on the head with comparing him to Brook Lopez. The potential to be Brook Lopez is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because you see, Brook Lopez, when he was coming out, he was a rim protector. He was really good at rebounding, really good at defense, and then he developed his 3-point shot. If Derek Lively can do that,
right,
the sky's the limit.
And I mean, you think of what was the criticisms we had about Dallas this past year is they didn't have rim protection, they didn't have rebounding, and guess what Derek Lively does? Both of those. And you think about it this way, right? How many rim protectors were actually in this draft? 2, maybe.
Yeah, not
Wemby. Outside of Wemby, it was like almost nobody, right?
Yeah.
And Derek Lively was a steal for that 12th pick there, I think. And he could develop into being a really good defender, rebounder, and rim protector for the Dallas Mavericks. And I'm not even bringing up his shooting because I don't know, but if he develops that, that's even more of a steal. So
The Dallas Mavericks haven't had something like this since Tyson Chandler, since their last when they went on a run against the Miami Heat back in 2011,
2011,
2011. They haven't had that since Tyson Chandler. So I think getting him was a great pickup, and like a great thing that you talked about saying how many rim protectors were in this draft. I think a lot of the reason why these centers a lot of the centers that didn't go and they went undrafted, like you talked about Drew Timme, who was an AP Player of the nominee for Player of the Year, All-American. You have the most valuable player in the Final Four, Adama Sanogo, didn't go in the draft, and you have an All-American in Oscar Tshiebwe, who averaged a double-double in college, and it's because if you look at the game now, a lot of the big men in the league has a jump shot. You're talking about the three of the best centers that were in this class didn't go drafted because they're old school centers. They play down on the block. They get down and grind on the block. They don't really have a 3-point shot. Drew Timme has somewhat of a shot, kind of, but Tshiebwe doesn't shoot threes. Sanogo doesn't shoot threes, and you see teams flying away from that because of the old school mentality of centers stay in the paint. They don't go out and shoot threes. And I think that kind of hurts their game, but at the same time overlook, because if you, like, for example, like the Bulls, they went out and got Adama Sanogo on a undrafted free agent. I think that was a steal because they needed rebounding. They needed rim protection, and that's what Adama Sanogo brings to you. He doesn't bring that. He does bring somewhat of an offensive punch to you inside, but he doesn't do it outside. So I think that's why a lot of those centers didn't go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there is a team that you guys have not discussed yet. You've talked about a lot of teams so far, but there is a team we haven't discussed yet, and that is the Phoenix Suns. So due to their trade recently...
I didn't do anything.
But this is just in general. Do you believe that the Suns are title favorites going into next year?
No.
And why?
They don't have a bench right now. Let's see what they do in free agency. It's too early to tell because
too early to tell. I agree.
You got rid of Shamet, who was a good bench player. You got rid of Chris Paul. You kind of gave a lot up for Bradley Beal, but that was also because Bradley Beal because Bradley Beal had the choice to what he wanted to be traded for. He wanted the Phoenix Suns.
They gave up more than what they got back. I mean, Bradley Beal is
I'm not saying they give up much. No,
I'm not saying they gave up.
They gave up the little bit of bench depth that they had. So it seems like more, but they really didn't give up that much for him.
And I'm also saying they gave up a lot because Bradley Beal is on a $40 million contract. You now have
50.
50. Oh yeah, they have Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin.
$250.
Yeah. And not even you have 4 players making almost the max, making a crap ton of money. How much money? You don't have enough money to go out and buy mid-level exception. You have to go out and buy the minimum. You can't bring in there's some good players that you could probably get on a middle exception like a Karis LeVert that they can't go out and get because they don't have the money. You're paying DeAndre Ayton what is like 100-something mil for over 4 years. KD's still on his contract that he got from Brooklyn. I think that has 2 or 3 years left. Devin Booker's 1 or 2 years into his 5-year contract. And then Bradley Beal, yes, you have him for maybe a year or 2 years, or I don't know what he's on. 4 years? Yeah, 4 years.
4 more years, yeah.
4 more years of that.
But between those guys, it's around 100 points, combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when they were on their own teams, though.
Yeah, and
KD's points dropped off when he went to Phoenix. Booker's about to stay the same. But what I really think they're going to do here is trade DeAndre Ayton. And I think they should because they can pick up 2 or 3 bench pieces. I mean, they can pick up any center, really, and play with this team. And they'll still have Josh Okogie, who's in free agency, who they can re-sign. And it seems like this new owner is willing to pay the luxury tax. I mean, obviously, they wouldn't have made that trade otherwise. But I think with Ayton, he's got enough value, not as much as he would have had or he had a few in years past, but he's still got some value where he can bring you in 3 quality players just because of the potential that he has to become a great big.
I just want to say, actually, reports out at least about 3 hours ago. DeAndre, they said that they have no plans of trading
Right,
DeAndre
which is
Ayton.
dumb. Yeah,
Exactly. They should trade him.
I saw the report, but I'm like, why? That makes no sense. You can bring in some bench depth, and you can't play with 5 guys in the NBA. You cannot do that. Okay.
Especially five guys that don't play defense.
Yeah, exactly.
None of them can play. None of them play defense. You
Well,
see,
they'll bring back Okogie, and he's a good defender. But other than that, no one else. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you're
Isn't that
benching
how the
someone.
NBA Isn't that how the NBA is shifting? Is
No, they're
you
not.
don't really need defense, and if you can score 120,
No.
130
No.
points today,
No.
then
No.
every single
No.
game
Look at the Miami Heat. Look at the Miami Heat this
Miami
year. They're a
Heat.
great example of that. What offensive player do you think could average 30 points a game? None. No one. Who are they missing in this playoff run? Tyler Hero, 20 points a game. Guess what they did? They played defense. They played the Eric Spoelstra Miami Heat defense. Look at the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, his biggest criticism was he doesn't play defense. And guess what? He was one of the best defenders in the whole playoffs, which is crazy to think because no one thought he would be. But
Yeah,
you look
you
at people
see-
like Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown came off the bench, and Murray played defense, and KCP played defense. Everyone on those teams played defense, and that's
yeah.
what you need to win a championship. You just need two-way guys. It can't just be a one-way. You don't do specialists in the playoffs. It doesn't
Yeah.
work as well.
And you see the likes of like the Miami Heat. They brought in Kyle Lowry to help them. They brought in Kevin Love, and they weren't playing because they couldn't play defense. And they brought in Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, the Martin. I believe is it Caleb or
Caleb Martin.
Caleb Martin. They brought in Caleb Martin, who played defense. And
Even Duncan Robinson was playing some defense,
Yeah.
which is we didn't think could happen, but
Yeah. And by February, Duncan Robinson was out of the rotation. He wasn't even playing. And then he comes in and he knows he has to change his mentality of he can't just be a spot-up shooter. He's got to play defense because he knows that defense wins championships. Like everybody says, defense wins
Sure.
championships.
But who's to say that the Suns don't just do exactly what you guys are saying with people that are, quote, bad defenders?
Because we've seen it before. If you watch Brooklyn struggled because they couldn't play defense because they're playing 3 guys that don't get back on defense, and Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. None of them play defense. Why they struggled to play, even if they weren't hurt, they struggled when they were healthy and playing together. They were struggling to beat teams because they didn't play defense. Because
No,
they only
had a good record when they were all.
They only-
It was just when Harden didn't shoot well and when he had his chances. That's when they would lose.
they also had good players like Claxton and a few others that played defense.
yeah.
But going back to the Suns, one thing we haven't brought up yet is they're trying to address the defensive issue. They brought in a defensive coach in Frank Vogel, which he has some skeptics, but he does generally form really good defenses, whether that be his time in Indiana with Paul George and Roy Hibbert and everyone, or going over to Los Angeles when they had the number 1 defense with LeBron and AD in the bubble, and they won the championship for it. So, I mean, there is hope, especially because it's a new locker room. People respect him because he's a champion. And we'll see how free agency goes, but generally they do have a chance to be a title winner this year because they have so much offensive firepower. They just need to bring in some defensive help from the bench, and they're going to all have to be on minimums because they can't afford anyone else. Maybe they trade DeAndre Ayton for a few defensive players, but it sounds like they're not willing to trade him, which I think is really dumb, but we'll see what they do. It seems a lot of players in history like to go to contending teams, and obviously Phoenix is a contending team where you can get a lot of minutes and raise your player stock. So we'll see what happens. But I think there's going to be players that are dying to go to Phoenix in a good market with
I was
good
about to
weather and
bring that
everything.
up.
So
I
yeah,
was about to bring that up because we've seen in the past Golden State get people that are worth 20, 30 mil for 3 mil somehow. And is that something that happens with Phoenix? Maybe not 3 million this time, but just 2 or
Minimum.
1 million for players that are high quality players.
they'll sign like a Patrick Beverly and a few others like that just play defense. They're known for defense, and maybe if they can bring in a shooter or two, that would help because they need some off-ball players too. So
If they can bring Torrey Craig back, find a way to bring Torrey Craig back.
oh, they need Torrey Craig back. Yeah,
I think he just fits right in. He can come in and shoot, play defense, and I think he can complement them. They just need to bring, like Casey said, they got to bring in defenders that can play defense and shoot the ball well.
Well, another thing with the Suns last year, they kind of didn't have a bench as well, and they were cutting people that were actually playing well for them because they were just trying to refresh their bench, I guess. And it could
Talk
be a
about Dwayne
similar thing.
Washington. Dwayne, you still heard about Dwayne Washington?
I mean, the guy is a great player. I didn't understand it.
Well, the Suns, I mean, it was kind of their philosophy to play less people as soon as they traded away Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges. They played 7 out in the playoffs, and look how that worked for them. They need depth, they need defenders, they need shooting. And guess what? They don't really have much of it outside of Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker.
And they didn't really upgrade in the draft to do any of that. They brought in
they shouldn't have traded into the draft. They had nothing to trade into the draft besides Ayton. And putting in the draft, especially when you trade for Bradley Beal, just doesn't make sense. But we'll see.
Okay. So talking about a lot of trades with the Suns, just like to ask in general, what are some, maybe like, let's say 2 trades each that you would like to see happen in the NBA coming up?
Yeah. First of all, I want to see what Portland does with Damian Lillard. I think that trade is one of the biggest everybody's talking about. I think wherever he goes, he's going to make the team better. And honestly, I can see him in Miami. I think him and Jimmy Butler together, I think that's a win-now move. I think he can help bring that scoring punch to Miami. And then another trade I would like to see happen is everybody wants to know with Casey's Pelicans. So what happens with Zion? I want to know what happens with Zion. I want to know what happens. I want to know if they decide to move on from Zion and just build around Brandon Ingram, because that is a possibility. They have talked about it. No one knows how committed Zion is to New Orleans right now. We can definitely, this whole thing. He does not seem committed. As much. I would love to see Zion in the Mecca. I'd love to see him in New York. I would love to see him playing.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I would love to see it.
They can't afford him.
Happen in New York, he'll get crucified. He's already getting crucified, but it'll be times 10 if he goes.
He's
to
getting
New York.
Crucified in a market like New Orleans. Imagine if he was in New York and missed a.
I think he would be more bought in if he was in New York. I think if he was in New York, I think he would be more bought in than what he is.
Do you think that goes back to when the Pelicans won the draft lottery, Sam, or do you think that's kind of just grown as?
No, I think he won. I think
we saw his face when the Pelicans came up.
I think he wants to be in. I think he wants to be in New York. I think New York fits him. I think that would be a good trade. And I want to see a dark horse.
Okay, Sam, hold on.
I would like to see
who would the Knicks be trading for Zion, because it needs to be a giant package.
It would be a huge package. I believe it's like a bunch of picks. They would be trading Julius Randle and Mitch Robb, and then like a bunch of picks. But there's another.
How many picks? How many picks? Because that's important here.
In terms of the NBA now,
next 4 or 5 years in first round picks.
They have like 11 first round picks right now. So I would ask for
5 or 7.
I would ask for like 6 or 7. So and Julius Randle.
But
yeah, that's just
I can see them doing that. But another team that I think that should go out and trade for Zion is Dallas. Dallas go out.
They have nothing. They have nothing.
I think getting him in Dallas, I think, would be cool to see.
Okay, maybe if they give us Kyrie Irving, and the Pelicans probably wouldn't do that. They probably still wouldn't do it.
Do a sign and trade with Kyrie Irving, maybe throw in like either Josh Green or Jalen Hardy and picks.
They don't have picks.
Well, they can find it.
I think for me,
The question is, Casey, what you want to see happen?
Yeah,
so,
it's not hype. It's not.
hypothetical world.
It's hypothetical. It wasn't like that's. Oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
Trades I want to see happen. I want LeBron in New Orleans. Okay, yeah.
I want LeBron in Chicago.
Oh my, stop. Oh, but Anthony Davis is going to Chicago. Oh.
Okay, that's more realistic. That's more realistic trade than Zion to the Dallas Mavericks. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. It is more realistic. Zion's not going to Dallas because they can't afford him.
For our viewers,
Yeah.
Sam has been asking for AD to go to the Chicago Bulls for at least 2 years now. So
At least, dude. When I think it was when he requested a trade out of New Orleans, Sam wanted the Bulls to trade for him. So that was back then, back in 2019, by the way. So yeah, he's been itching for this deal for a long time.
Hey, he's
But-
been saying.
Well, he's got the Chicago tattoo right on his arm there, but I don't think he's going home. For me, trades I want to see happen. I want to see what happens with Scoot, because I don't think they're going to trade Dame. So they're going to trade Scoot somewhere, and I'm really curious on what team can put a package together, because I know they were asking for a lot. They wanted, because I know the Pelicans were rumored with them, they wanted Zion or Brandon Ingram for them, right, and then match salary. But I didn't want that to happen, obviously. But I know there's a lot of rebuilding teams who viewed Scoot as a number one prospect, a number one type prospect for any other draft besides this one because Victor Wembanyama. Now, I don't know how he fell to 3. I don't know what the Hornets were on, but they definitely Michael Jordan has an interesting history with his draft picks, so we'll see how that works out. I would love to see the Magic put together a package for him to play next to Paolo Banchero. I mean, you could give up your new draft pick, Anthony Black. You could give up Markelle Fultz and a few others. I mean, even Wendell Carter or someone like that in picks. And I think the Blazers might consider. But that's one I would love to see. I don't know where he's going to go. It could be any team in the league could trade for him, except for obviously the Bucks or the Lakers or like the Mavericks or someone like that. But Sam's got this weird look on his face. All he already has to say.
I don't think he's going. I don't think the Magic would be interested. They have so many guards. They have a logjam at guards already. There's no way that they trade for another one. And I was very confused.
If they give guards back in return, they could do that, I think.
But I honestly, I was confused on why they took Anthony Black. He's a guard. They took Jet Howard can play as a forward, but I didn't know why they took Anthony Black as a guard when they already had Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton. They have so many guards.
Who would you have liked to see them pick then instead? Because I mean, the people that were drafted right after were the Koulibaly to the Wizards, right?
Yeah.
They already have Paolo, Jarace Walker to the Pacers. They already have Paolo, Taylor Hendricks. They already have Paolo, Cason Wallace. He's a guard. Jet Howard went to the Magic, and so on. It's not worth it at that point to draft Derek Lively at 6. So I think Anthony Black was a good pick there. I think they were hoping for Asar Thompson to fall to them, but obviously Cam Whitmore had his struggles in his workouts, and allegedly, some things that were going on was he wasn't fit for his workouts. He was gasping for air and had to go back into the locker room, stormed out, and when it was an unnamed team, but apparently they went into the locker room and saw him hitting his vape pen. And he tried to hide it and act like he wasn't doing it. But apparently that's why he fell so far. But it's all alleged, so we don't know that for sure. But I could only imagine why else he would fall. But I think, the Magic were hoping for Asar Thompson to play at that 3 spot as a backup behind Franz Wagner. But it didn't work out that way. So they pick Anthony Black, the best player on the board.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
As my trade that I would like to see happen, very unrealistic, but as a Cavs fan, I would like to see Lauri Markkanen come back and Colin Sexton come back. That would
For
be
who?
my dream
Are you giving Mitchell
What
back?
a trade? What trade? You give him Mitchell?
I just said it's very.
What, Amani Bates back? Trade Amani Bates for them?
You gonna give him Jared Allen?
No.
Mobley?
I mean, And there is
Garland?
one that's more unrealistic. That is LeBron to the Cavs.
All right, are you trading Mobley for Markkanen?
I don't think so.
Oh, no.
Thought about it for a second. No, I trade.
Okay, that's
Trade
fair.
him.
I mean,
Trade
Mobley
him.
was the top 3 defensive player of the year candidate. I wouldn't trade him, especially because he's
He
on his
should've
rookie
been- he
contract
should've
still.
been the
No,
first.
I trade
He
Jared
should have
Allen
been
away.
Defensive Player of the Year, and last year he should have been Rookie of the Year.
The Jazz have Walker
I don't
Kessler.
know
They
how
would
this
want
man
him.
gets so disrespected out of maybe it's the NBA media just does not like the Cavs for some reason, but Evan Mobley does not get the recognition he deserves, and that's
It's because there's so many great defenders around him, though. I think, like Jared Allen's a great defender. I mean, you played Lamar Stevens a ton. He's a good defender.
Marcus Smart.
Mitchell actually played good defense this year as well, and Garland did too, which is not something they're known for. But I mean, you look at a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. Steven Adams was injured a lot of this season. I mean, a lot of their players
It's 'cause
like
he was
are
on a
good defenders
higher
too,
ranked
but
team.
he had an insane block ratio. He led the league in blocks. I mean, it was tough to argue against him considering his defensive versatility, just like Mobley too. And I was having trouble pick defensive player of the year. I ended up going with Jaren Jackson, but just because the Grizzlies had a great defense and
Yeah, they're the
but the
worst
Cavs did have the best
50
defense in the
Cavs
league,
were-
so I can definitely
Exactly.
see an argument for Mobley. I'm not discrediting that at all. I think it's a good pick too.
Mobley.
Yeah, my defensive player of the year I thought was pretty good was Brook Lopez. I thought Brook Lopez had a great season.
Yep, that's true.
Defensively, he for the amount of stats, he NBA high in block shots. He had 193.
Yep.
His contest average was like was 17.5 shots per game. The next closest was 45% more, and that was Nicholas Claxton at 12.1.
Claxton was another good shot. For
His
that, too.
defensive rating, 106.6. That is pretty good. I just think, like he said, there's so many good defensive players. Like he said, Jared Jackson.
It's
Jr.
hard to tell. It's like
Even
picking
Marcus
hairs
Smart.
now. Splitting
Yeah,
hairs, yeah.
Marcus
It's tough.
Smart was pretty good still this year. Like, there's so many good defensive players. Like yes, Evan Mobley played first team all defensive, but there's so many to pick from. Like Drew Holiday had a really good season defensively. Alex Caruso was really good defensively this year. Draymond, Derek White, and we clown on
Herb Jones, who didn't make the team but should have.
he was an honorable mention, and the guy we clown on a bunch, Dylan Brooks, was a second all defensive team.
Yeah.
Because he had a really good.
Stop. He
was great at defense. You can admit, like
That's the
he's
only
an
reason he
idiot.
gets paid is for his defense.
Regular
Yeah.
seasons I've seen of a player, and
Like-
one of the dirtiest players in the NBA as well. I will.
Well,
say
true, he's dirty, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of dirty players in the league. I mean, look at Chris
That. Doesn't
Paul.
make you good at defense if you're dirty.
Grayson-
That's one
Grayson Allen.
exception. You can get-
Grayson Allen's in the league. He's dirty.
Yeah, and I love Grayson Allen. Like Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is known for his defense. He's there. He chirps at you. He gets in your
He
head.
did well in the. He did well in the.
Yeah, in the play. Yeah, he sucked in the play. He sucked in the playoffs.
And in the regular season against Donovan Mitchell, he did pretty well.
Okay. He won bad game, but you can't say he's not bad. If
He's going to get paid over 10 mil this next season.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to be with the Grizzlies. He's a really good defender. I think he deserved to be at least in contention for all defense. And he obviously made it. But there's a lot of players in the league history who have been chippy, who've been chirping a lot and just talk a lot. And now that social media is out there, he's talking to social media. Now, I don't agree with him going at LeBron saying he's old or anything, but I mean, you
that
talk
was
at big trash talkers in the league like Kevin Garnett. I mean, they said way worse than that.
Yeah. I remember
Let's see it.
KG came at, I forget who it was. I remember watching it. KG would bring up players' parents, players' siblings. He would do his research before games.
Also, here's the thing.
Who is the Bulls center?
Kevin Garnett.
Joakim Noah.
Noah. He talked about Joakim Noah all the time, yeah.
Yeah, Joakim Noah and
Kevin Garnett
Garnett.
could back it up. Kevin Garnett could back it up. That's the only difference right there.
Oh, I agree. I didn't.
We're not
agree.
saying they couldn't back it up. Dylan Brooks is just known for his defense. He was never
Yeah,
really
Kevin
known
Garnett
for
could do
his
both, though. Yeah.
Garnett could.
He's
could
the
play
league
off.
MVP, bro. He could do both.
Yeah. Dylan Brooks was never Reggie Miller, and he could do both. Dylan Brooks is never known for his offensive play. He's always known for his defense and his 3-point shooting. That's why
Sam, where do you think he goes this offseason?
Honestly, Boston. I can see him in Boston. I can see him in Boston taking a pay cut to go to Boston and play on a contender to replace Marcus Smart as that 3-and-D guy. But I could also see him Houston.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. They have cap space. They could use another wing, and they could use some discipline and some fight in them. And not to say that some of their players don't want to fight, but not everyone does, obviously. And some people just need to be punished in practice, and he will do that 100%. He'll give 100% every single play, every single practice, every single moment in games.
He'll bring that veteran presence to the team that's been to the playoffs. That's joining a young team like that. And you think like Dylan Brooks, he 39% from the three during the regular season is pretty good, and to play defense the way he did. I just think
there's also a funny aspect of this that whatever team he goes to, I'm sure at least half of their fans were making fun of him during last year's playoffs.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Everyone was making fun of him outside of Memphis. That's because they were embarrassed of him.
Yeah.
I mean, there were even Grizzlies fans that came up to – there's a famous video of this I've seen a couple times on social media where he's in line at Starbucks and a Grizzlies fan goes up to him and says, "You got to learn how to pass the rock." And it's honestly cringy just how he reacts to it because he knows that he's done wrong, and it's even worse after these playoffs, especially with the dances and the whole Grizzlies arrogance. I mean, I was fine with the Grizzlies, but they have just gone to another level of arrogance.
Yeah, but you see players you see so many athletes on social media doing stupid stuff like dancing and stuff before games and saying dumb things they don't need to be saying. Like the perfect example I think that comes to mind about doing dances and stuff like this and talking a big game and not backing it up on the scoring aspect was when Juju Smith-Schuster for the Steelers. You got him dancing on the logo of the Cincinnati Bengals field before the game, looking all cocky, and first play of the game catches the ball right through the middle, and Von Bell rocks him, and fumbles the ball, and they return it for a touchdown. Like, come on.
Yeah, I know a family who backs it up, though. You know, the Mahomes family. You know, Jackson Mahomes doing his dances, and then Patrick Mahomes balling out.
They can back it up because they can do it.
Jackson Mahomes hitting up the clubs and everything.
But we're talking.
Here's the difference right here. Sam, here's the difference right here. You're comparing someone who can't back it up in the playoffs to a Super Bowl champion right now. That's the difference.
On a different team.
If Dylan Brooks... Okay. Juju on the Steelers knocked out one of your boys, too, so calm down.
No, he didn't. That was Antonio Brown.
No.
All right, let's get back on topic here.
Look at the tape. Juju knocked him down. I didn't bring this up. He brought it up. So, also, you're messing with an NBA or NFL champion, whereas Dylan Brooks will never be an NFL.
He'll never be an NFL champion. I agree with you.
Yeah, he won't be an NFL champion. Hey, I did see reports that the Golden State Warriors are interested in Dylan Brooks, so we'll see how that goes.
They're interested in any veteran, dude.
Yeah, do we think that?
I know one team he won't go to, the Lakers.
What'd you say, Caleb?
Do we think that the Warriors will win another championship ever with this core?
They got one more in.
Casey?
They got one more.
I don't think so. Unless they make a big trade, I don't think Chris Paul is pushing them over the top. I mean, Chris Paul is obviously a great player and all, but he's never been playoff success. You know, he's never won a championship, and I don't know if he's the one that's going to push the Warriors over the top. Jordan Poole only did because he was shooting great in that playoffs, and they also had an easier run to the finals there. But I think if they make a trade for one of the Raptors' wings, whether it be OG Anunoby or Pascal Siakam, with giving away picks and Kuminga and Moody, and I think if they can get a deal done with the Raptors, they will definitely be able to be a championship contender.
I think the team they have right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like with Steve Kerr is.
Yeah. I think getting Chris Paul, getting rid of Jordan Poole. Yes, Jordan Poole is younger, is a whole lot younger. But if you look in the playoffs, he averaged 10 points a game. He shot 34 from the field. And he shot 25 from.
Oh, he played
the
horribly. That's why they lost. But you got
he played terrible.
Right. You can't only point the finger at him though. You got to look at Klay Thompson too, and he played horribly in the playoffs too. He choked, honestly, and it's not something we're used to seeing because he's a great player and a great shooter. Obviously, he's a top 5 shooter of all time, but he didn't shoot well this playoffs, right? And if he would have shot better, they could have gotten past LeBron. I think.
Oh yeah, I just think that the team looks so disjointed the entire season, and it was because of Jordan Poole and Draymond Green. We all knew it. It was very obvious. The locker room was divided. I think getting Jordan Poole out and just going with a starting fresh, bringing in a veteran like Chris Paul. I don't think it's Chris Paul's fault why he never won a championship. I think it was the teams he was on. Didn't help.
You don't think it was his fault at all in 2021 where they were in the finals against the Bucks and choked the 2-0 lead? Or when he's in the Clippers and choked multiple 3-1 leads? Or when he was on the Rockets and choked against the Warriors again?
Okay, I will say
that was his fault.
I don't think it was all his fault. I'm not saying it wasn't his fault.
It's not all his fault. It's a team sport, but still, I'm
just saying. I think the team around him. I think this is a team that he's never been on before. Something that brings something as a winning mentality, like winners, playing with winners, like Draymond, Steph Curry.
You're about to say Chris Paul, but no. no, but I don't even know if he's going to start, to be honest. I think he shouldn't start.
He's going to start. Come on.
I don't think so, dude. He should come off the bench.
You play
Steph at the 1, you play Klay at the 2, you play Wiggins at the 3, you play Draymond at the 4, and you play Looney at the 5, dude. Just like the championship winning lineup that they won with, right? You just have Chris Paul off the bench, run the second unit. He's obviously the point guard, and he's going to be able to have their offense good in the second unit. And that was their big problem is bench scoring, and they didn't have enough of it. So I think this year when they have Chris Paul running their second unit, they have a better chance, right? But it still doesn't guarantee them a championship. And I think,
the starters on the bench. You can't bench Chris Paul.
You have to bench Chris Paul. You can't play him and Curry next to each other.
Why?
Dude, well, you can play, but you can't start them next to each other because you got to have Wiggins on there for defense. You got to have Klay on there. You got to have Draymond in there for defense. Who you benching is my question.
Looney.
What? No, you can't, dude. No rebounding, no defense in the interior. You'll have Draymond, but he's not tall. Anyone will shoot over. Imagine him playing against Wembanyama. No.
If you can shoot them at the gym, it doesn't matter.
Sam, who are you benching if you're starting Chris Paul?
Kayvon Looney.
What?
Looney, right?
Looney, you go small ball. You go small ball.
They've done it before.
You go small ball with.
They don't start that though. They never start small ball.
It also depends on who they're playing.
Yeah, maybe you end the game with Chris Paul on there and bench Looney. But their big thing for their championship run in 2022 was rebounding because Looney was so good at offensive rebounding. When you bench him, you don't have that for an undersized point guard in Chris Paul.
I think Chris Paul. Honestly, I don't see Chris Paul starting. To be honest, I don't because if you look at
you think he should though. No. Okay, I don't think so either. Okay, cool.
The way the Warriors play is fast pace. Get up the floor, transition basketball.
Right.
Chris Paul is 38 years old with a history of about to be 39 with a history of hamstring injuries. That is just an injury waiting to happen because they're going to try to push the floor and he's going to get hurt. I think it'll work out with him playing at the 1 and having Curry and Klay come off the ball off of screens. I think that will work. But not starting it. Maybe ending the game in the small ball like we said.
That's what I said, yep.
But I could see them also sacrificing Andrew Wiggins, bringing on Kayvon Looney, and keeping Draymond in there for that rebounding purpose.
Play Klay at the 3 and Steph at the 2?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that. But I don't think you.
Best team on the floor, you drop Wiggins or not Wiggins, Looney.
Yeah, you drop
Looney. And I think they could end some games like that for their second version of their death lineup, right? But honestly, their rebounding is way too important, especially with Looney, and he's such a good offensive rebounder. And he was such a vital part of that championship run. I don't think they bench him.
All right, so Casey, let me ask you this: Game 7 of the finals, you wouldn't start Chris Paul in the finals.
Who are they playing against?
Yeah, depends on the team.
Let's say the Celtics.
99%. No,
Hell
definitely
no.
not.
Hell
They got
no.
Kristaps Porzingis. They have
Bro.
Alpha Horford. You need
Robert Williams.
All right,
And Robert
Miami
Williams
Heat,
up the
Miami
bench.
Heat. Let's hear Miami Heat.
No.
No, not
They
even
have
against
Bam
Miami.
Adebayo.
No.
No.
You don't start him in that. You bring him on, but you bring him on as a six man.
Whoa. Who? You're talking about Looney? You bring him on as 6-man?
No, Chris Paul.
Oh, Chris Paul. Okay, we're talking about the same guy. Yeah, we're
you
starting
don't-
Looney. We're starting Looney
Yeah.
in pretty much every team.
If you saw Looney in the finals run 2 years ago, the man he would get so many rebounds. He put his body on the line for so many rebounds.
The only reason he wasn't so good in this playoffs is because he was injured. He was playing through
exactly.
injury, and he wasn't as mobile as he should have been, or he normally is. And he was playing against a super mobile Anthony Davis.
Yeah,
so
in
it was tough for him.
in the crucial game, he was like in the game 7, he was not healthy. You could tell he could barely move.
Yeah, you could tell. That's why they didn't start him. Is because he wasn't healthy.
Exactly, because everybody was like, "Why isn't Louis starting? This is a must-win game. Why he should be starting?" But it's because he was hurt. And you saw them play that small ball lineup, and it did not work.
All right. Next question. So, the NBA has been looking at new markets, new areas, new teams. So the thought of expansion teams. Okay, is there let's do this. Let's do one team we think should have an expansion team, or what place, and then which one do you think will end up happening? Maybe not tomorrow, next year, but in the future sometime.
Can they be the same team?
Yeah, but let's have a different explanation for
the immediate thought is Seattle, because they lost their franchise back in, what was it, 2008, I believe. Yeah, because Kevin Durant played one season for Seattle, right?
And then
that's why he
Russell
loved
was
Seattle
first.
so much. And then they switched over to Oklahoma the next year because they wouldn't build a new stadium. The city wouldn't build a new stadium for them, which they desperately needed. But I think Seattle has learned from their mistake, and their economy will be way better once the NBA comes back. But I think everyone, especially NBA players and people who love the history of the NBA, including Adam Silver, have talked about expanding back into Seattle, giving the fans what they deserve. So I think it will happen. I think it should happen. And I think that the fans, they deserve it. And they're still waiting on this team. They've been waiting on this team for ever since they left, really. It was just snatched from them. I mean, you think about it. So I think they deserve it, and I think it'll happen within the next few years, probably in the next 4 years or so.
Will they create a new
Probably like 2026, I'd
organization,
say.
or will one switch?
No, it'll be expansion team. I think they'll add 2 new expansion teams, probably one in Vegas and probably one definitely one in Seattle. And if I had to guess, they'll probably push Minnesota or Memphis into the Eastern Conference.
I know talks have been talking about San Diego. I know is one big one that they're looking to bring in another California team. I don't know why. A team that I want to see, bring one to Cincinnati. We'd all love it. Ohio is a die-hard sports city. Or not city, state. And you bring one to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's growing. Now, hear me out. People are like, wow, Cincinnati. Oh, it's because he went to Cincinnati. And
They are growing.
Cool. They are growing. If you look at it, the Bengals are growing. Like, we haven't seen the Bengals good in this long. The Cincinnati Reds are starting to pop off right now. If you look at how they're doing. Cincinnati College, University of Cincinnati, Big 12, now in a Power 5. The city is growing. And there's so much opportunity there. And you have FCC. They're growing. They're one of the best teams in MLS. We haven't had a basketball team since 1972 when they were the Cincinnati Royals before they relocated to Kansas City.
Oscar Robertson, baby.
It just makes sense. Yes, exactly. Hometown. Oscar Robertson went to school in Cincinnati and played with Cincinnati Royals when it is. And it just makes sense. Ohio is getting bigger. It's expanding. I just think bringing a team to Cincinnati just makes a lot of sense. I think other than the most obvious one is Seattle, like Casey said, and bring one to Seattle. Maybe, I know New Jersey is, people float out, bring back New Jersey, but who knows what the heck's going to happen with that economy. But another one, like you said, that most realistically will get one. I could honestly see it's either between Vancouver. I think Vancouver has a chance of getting another one, and I think another Florida team like Jacksonville. Or
Really?
I could see Jacksonville getting one.
You don't think Vegas will get one?
I think Vegas will get one if they don't give it to Seattle. There's no way they put two in the West.
I think
like
they
that.
will.
I think they can because they have people like Minnesota, Memphis, New Orleans that they can ship.
They'll move a team to the Eastern Conference. I think they'll move Memphis or Minnesota, the two Eastern teams. Probably Minnesota.
I can
right
see
next to Milwaukee.
I can see Tampa getting one.
I just don't think
Tampa,
so. I don't think they
Florida
put three
team.
in Florida. I think that Vegas is definitely going to get one because you look at the Raiders, right? They're a very successful team. They just built a brand new stadium. They're successful. They're successful in Vegas, right? And they just brought in the new Vegas hockey team as well. That's done really well.
The Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights, right? And I think they're looking to expand more into sports, especially with all the sports betting scenes, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of sports fans in Vegas. And I think that once LeBron said that he wants to own a team in Vegas, I think it's going to happen, regardless. Clutch Sports is going to buy one, and it's going to happen. So that's what I think. And Seattle will get one, too. So
Yeah, I can see Seattle.
You want to hear my shout real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's hear
Who
it.
I want to get.
What are you going to say, Columbus?
No, we got the Buckeyes.
Dayton?
No, they got Dayton Flyers.
The team I would most like to see is Mexico City. That would be unreal. Imagine a whole new country added to the NBA. A whole country is the new fan base. And we watched USA versus Mexico the other day in the CONCACAF Nations League. Those fans are diehard. If they get behind a basketball team, the roof might fall off that place. But
that's different. That's a national team. It's not a club team. That's different.
No, but listen. There's okay. Let's say expansion. There's one team in Mexico. Then who else are they gonna support? That's in Mexico. The only team.
Yeah, you look at Canada, and they support the Raptors because it's all of Canada. I mean,
there is a Mexican basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a Mexican basketball.
Someone in British Columbia might support the Raptors. It's not even the same area. It's the same type of thing. And
I don't think they do
maybe
that.
That'll dwindle
I
into
think,
the rest of dwindle down to Central America. Who knows? South America. Who knows? Okay. The thing is, whenever an NBA team wins, they always say they're world champions, but there's only two countries involved. Imagine moving.
Because the NBA is the best league in the world, and all the best players go there. No other league can compete.
It's only two countries. Imagine it just started moving. The NFL is already looking at moving.
Just think of it this way, Caleb. Any good player of any other country goes to the NBA draft.
No, I'm not making the
If Europe was so good, Victor would stay there. If Europe was so good, Luka would have stayed there. Jokic would have stayed there. Giannis would have stayed there. But the NBA is just so much superior, and like the other leagues are catching up, but the NBA is still far away as the best in the world.
Yeah,
and that means it's the best. It's the world
If
champion.
you call yourself world champions, you need to involve.
They are world champions.
They are world champions.
They are world champions.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying you need to incorporate more of the
That
world.
doesn't mean you have to have a team in every single league or every single country to be world
that's impossible.
champions.
You'd have to have over 200 teams.
I mean, look at the World Cup, right? Is every single country in the World Cup? No,
Everyone
but you're
can
still world
qualify for
champions.
it, yeah, everyone can qualify for it.
And that's what the
It's
FIBA.
whether they
different, though.
do that.
Yeah, I still think they're world champions just because all the best players go there from every country that has good players. So
No, I'm just saying. For expansion, Mexico City would be the way to go.
I could see that. Yeah, that would be a big market and
Vegas would
everything.
get the most hype out of any of them. Seattle would probably be third most hype out of anyone. I mean, people would love this nostalgia, but in terms of interest, I feel like giving a whole country a team would be insane, and then Vegas would make bank. They would build some bougie stadium for them.
I agree with you there.
It'd be
I
insane.
agree.
They'd probably build it right next to the Caesar's Palace or something. So you could bet on the game, and then you go to the game, and then you sit down in your seat and watch the bet go.
You lose all your money.
That's
'cause
probably
they're gonna
what
suck.
Yep.
Yep, but
Okay. So here is my last question for today. It's kind of an interesting one, okay? So strap in and get ready for this, guy. So, we know in the past the USA men's basketball team has had their moments of, being very, very good. There's been a couple years where it's a letdown. But, let's say hypothetically that the nation of Yugoslavia did not crumble into separate different states, right? If the United States went up against Yugoslavia, do you think they would still win? Now, if you need refresh on what players that would be, I can fill you in, but...
why don't you say it all for the viewers?
Yeah.
Okay. So for Yugoslavia, you would get Luka, Goran Dragic, Jokic, Vlatko Kemsar, Nurkic, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Dario Saric, Zubac, Vucevic, Nikola Mirotic, and Pokashevsky.
Bro, they have all
That
centers.
would be the toughest team, in my opinion.
I'm still taking the U.S. I'm taking the U.S.
any
Taking the
day.
U.S. They have no guards other than a 36-year-old Goran Dragic and Luka.
Luka
Luka.
Doncic is not the Luka Doncic. Did you not hear him say
Yeah,
that?
yeah. But then if you look at the U.S., Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, who am I missing? Anthony Davis, Bradley Beal,
Yep. You
Klay
probably have
Thompson.
you probably have some other players on there too, but I mean,
Well,
the
we've
U.S.
seen
they'd
the
be
last
way
cycle-
more balanced.
Joel
We would have a full
Embiid.
all-star bench, and we would have all NBA
Embiid's
starters.
not from the United States.
Yeah.
He wouldn't play for the US,
My bad.
But
I'm
either
still
way,
taking the U.S. I'm still taking
That
the
would be
U.S.
the
US would
toughest
win.
team the U.S. has ever faced in the history. And
But the U.S. never puts their full roster out there. Basically, I mean,
Exactly.
most of the time at
and
least.
last year they were losing to teams like Nigeria.
Right, but that wasn't their full team. They
Yeah.
just had Durant and like they had some All Stars, but I mean they had Derek White on the team.
Yeah, and the greatest U.S. player of all time, and Carmelo Anthony was on the team. Come on. Like,
Not
even
that team, but yeah.
even if Yugoslavia was still a thing, and if you look at, like, all-time players, even if you do all-time players, you still pick the U.S. And if you look at it now, you still pick the U.S.
No,
Because-
it'd be closer now than all time. Like,
Oh, yeah, if it was all-time, we would destroy. But if we could destroy. But if you look at it now, we still have the better player. Steph Curry, the greatest shooter that anyone's ever seen. Who you want him going up against a 36-year-old Goran Dragic who can barely play still.
I would
No.
probably say that the Bogdanovich brothers would start over.
Well, they're not related. Bojan and Bogdan are not related, but Bojan, yeah.
They have very similar names, so.
Yeah, but
Bojan would
one's
play the 3, Bogdan would play the 2,
yeah,
Luka would
and
play the
one of them's Serbian, and the other one is not Serbian. I don't know which one's which, but okay, you got Bogdan playing the 3. He's guarded LeBron. LeBron's gonna torch him every second of the day. Bojan would play, or Luka
Bojan
would play
the 3.
Yeah,
And then
Bojan
Bogdan
would
would
play
play the 2.
Yeah, Bogdan
And
will play
Bogdan
too.
is 30. He's going on 33 now. He couldn't guard LeBron. He's not a great. I mean, he's a good defender. But he's not great.
Luka would guard Curry, but Curry would still torch him. The only situation probably where you'll get a matchup is at the center position with Jokic, whoever Jokic is playing.
Well, and here's one thing that I
Who do we even play? We
team.
play
They have
Karl
a lot
Anthony
of
Towns and Anthony
Davis.
Davis.
They have a lot of big players. Yugoslavia would have a
Bam
lot of big
Adebayo.
Maybe
They would be
Bam,
able
yeah.
to rebound against the U.S., I believe.
Yeah, they can rebound against the U.S., but they can't get a shot unless it's inside the three-point line, except for if you're Jokic.
They won't be able to defend us, dude.
Yeah, and they can't defend
us.
either. Yeah. Durant's going to kill anyone.
Durant, LeBron, and Curry on the same team, bro. Just stop. We don't even need anyone else.
Ooh. Maybe bring in Zion. Zion will clap them all. He's a big boy.
Who played on the team last time? And also, it's not.
But you're not asking us who played on the team. Now you're asking us if we take our best players against their best players. It's not even fair.
Well, when's the next
Yeah,
Olympics?
it's not, dude.
2024.
Wait, when was the last Olympics?
2020. So it's 2024 is the next Olympics.
Yeah, 2024. Yeah.
So those guys.
Yeah, it's summer of
Those
2024.
guys versus this Yugoslavia.
So it's next year, yeah.
Those guys in 2024 versus Yugoslavia.
Depends on who's on our team in 2024 because we don't take everybody, and a lot of our
wouldn't take
good
it,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of our good guys usually don't like to play on it because they made the rule is you have to be dedicated for 3 summers. It's the rule now, and for the U.S. I think Mike Krzyzewski made it as you have to.
That's not a rule anymore, Sam.
It isn't. But most of them like to enjoy.
That was a Mike Krzyzewski rule, and Greg Popovich is the coach now. So
yeah, and most of them use that summer. Most of our great players that would probably play on that team use the summer as their off season because most of them go deep into the playoffs and they don't want to switch. You have Booker did switch. He played in the finals and then went to Team USA, but most of them don't do that. And most of our good players don't even play for them anymore. Curry doesn't play anymore. LeBron doesn't play anymore. The last player that we saw that was really good that played for them is Durant and Carmelo. They're the only two of late.
Durant was the best player on the last Olympics team that we had. He was our one superstar that we had. And yeah, we had Damian Lillard, we had Devin Booker, we had a few others that were really good players. But yeah, at that point, Carmelo wasn't.
Yeah, Carmelo was.
But I mean, either way, I think that 2024, if that were a real scenario in 24, a lot of our superstar players who we consider top 5 players are either European or they wouldn't play. So I could definitely see Luka and Jokic taking on anyone. So
Yeah, those two.
not to mention they have shooting around them. So
I just want to say, technically, Joel Embiid, we do have the Olympics coming up. And actually, coach is Steve Kerr.
for France.
He technically can play for either the U.S. or France, and he has not made a decision yet. He has not made a decision. And Steve Kerr is the coach now, not Greg Popovich. And Paulo Banchero just committed to playing for the U.S. So that should be interesting.
So did Brandon Ingram, yeah.
So did Brandon Ingram, yeah. And right now, the current roster that is right now of the main players right now is Jaren Jackson Jr., Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, Austin Reeves, Brandon Ingram, Mikal Bridges, and Cam Johnson. Right now are on the team.
That's not that strong.
Bobby Portis made the team, dude. Come on.
And that's just because none of our good players want to play in it anymore. It's just an injury waiting to happen.
So
we had Bam Adebayo on the last one. He was pretty solid, but if we can't get him back, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think he's coming. I don't think he's coming back just because he went so deep into the playoffs. I think he wants a break.
So do you see
that? That's fair.
If that's the team, Sam,
if that's the team.
Oh, if that's the team, I'm picking Yugoslavia.
Yeah, I'm picking Yugoslavia.
This is the craziest hypothetical I've ever talked about, but I mean, sure. If a whole set of countries go back together, I mean, maybe they beat us, but
yeah. But if we're talking about like if we can pick the team, not the players that got picked, but if we're picking the team, I'm picking USA because we can
Yeah, if
pick
we're
from a
picking
number.
US versus any other country, we're picking USA. If it's a collection of countries, though, I mean, that's kind of overpowered.
I just
I mean,
asked this
throw in
question
Greece there,
because-
why don't you?
I just asked this question because right now in basketball, we're seeing a lot more players come from Europe. So
Yeah,
if we had,
yeah, they are. And what's crazy is we never saw like other countries even compete with the U.S. up until what was it 2008 or 2004 when we lost in Greece. But then you saw the Redeem Team with Kobe and LeBron. You saw that documentary on Netflix. But ever since then, we've been a leader again. But
And
the
it
rest
has
of the world's
come
catching
close.
up, and some of our most of our top 10 players are not American or are not playing for our teams anymore. So
Yeah.
well, speaking
they're-
of Greece, if it was European Union versus the U.S., I think it'd be over.
depends on who we're picking from.
Giannis would be on that team. Giannis would be on that team with Luka and Jokic.
And then once again, we still pick LeBron and KD and Steph, and I'll still pick the U.S. to win. They can take Giannis. He has no jump shot from anywhere from 15 feet out. He can't shoot a three.
What American players can stop him?
LeBron,
Brooke Lopez.
Brooke Lopez, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. They can stop him.
Bam Adebayo put some
Kevin
work on
Durant
him.
is going to stop Giannis. On defense,
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is going to stop Giannis.
No, Bam Adebayo.
Bam. Kevin Durant can stop him.
Didn't stop him in the playoffs when he played for the Nets.
LeBron can stop him. Come on.
Yeah, that's fair.
No one's stopping Giannis, but he wouldn't beat us by his own or by
Yeah.
himself.
It's just they would need and if you look at it, most of the good international players they have like that are overseas that come from overseas are big men, not guards.
Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of the things, or a lot of the conversations going around the All-Star break now are Team USA versus Team World, right? And you see that coming up more
love to
often
see
now.
that.
And you even see that in the Rising Stars game with all the new players, and it's a great game to watch. I mean, I watch it every single year, which
Yeah.
is crazy because normally, I mean, I watch everything NBA related, but I mean, a lot of people wouldn't. I feel like a lot of people care more just because it's U.S. versus World and more effort is put in. But if it was implemented into the All-Star game,
That'd be insane.
it'd be
I just
pretty cool.
gotta say most
Apart from the U.S., then every other country is going to be cheering for World. I mean,
Well, yeah, that's the point, though.
Most, if you look at it, if you look at it in history, most guards and most wing and guard players that are international come from either South America or, and you look at it from Canada. Most of them are more international guard and forward base are coming from like Canada because Fred VanVleet and RJ Barrett, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, they're from Canada. Most of the people coming from overseas, like in Europe, are big men. So the Gasol brothers, Serge Ibaka,
Rudy Gobert,
Victor Wembanyama, Jokic, Nurkic, Vucevic. Like they all,
Giannis.
yeah, Giannis. They're all big men. They're all 6'10" up in size. They're not like other than
And they
Luka.
still send over some good guards, too. But
Yeah,
it's,
like
I mean,
Luka.
the best players are usually big men from Europe. You know. And Luka, of course, but, you know.
And maybe Tony Parker. Tony Parker.
What do you mean maybe?
Not maybe Anthony Parker. Yeah, and if you look at it, it's like for past players, Andrea Bargnani, 6'11", power forward. He came sharpshooter. Andrea Karolinko, sharpshooter, tall.
AK-47.
Ooh, we love some AK-47.
okay, well, any other things we want to say before we conclude the roundtable part 2?
We'll be back in 2 weeks, I believe. So we're off. We're all off next week, and then we'll come back to you with more updates from our.
July 9th, we'll be back.
Yes,
Hopefully
sir. Can't
some
wait.
spiciness from the transfer window in soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, take a look out because we are doing both soccer and basketball content. So keep a lookout for all of our upcoming podcasts. You should see something on July 10th, just to give us a day to edit and everything, make sure everything's right. But keep a lookout and follow us on all of our socials and subscribe.
It will
And
be in
give
the
us some
description
suggestions
below.
on what we should do next.
Comment in the comments below.
Yep. Wow, we out. See y'all later. See you in a couple weeks.